Hi guys, welcome to Watcher's Corner, the hottest corner on YouTube. I've missed you guys so much. And I haven't been around. I have not deserted you guys. I just went through traumatic experience, a loss. I lost my grandmother. She's the woman that raised me, so it's like losing a mommy, and I've just not been in the best state, yeah? Anyway, let's not dwell too much into that, right? Let's just say I'm very happy to be back here with you guys. I love each and every one of you, the new guys, the ones that are gonna click on subscribe now. Thank you. And also the oldies, but the goldies, I love you guys so much, right? So today we're talking about grief. Obviously, it would be motivated and inspired by what I'm currently going through, right? Um, I have my Salitos glasses on, if you guys would like to see. So while I was away, even though I did experience some trauma, something good also happened to me. I won a competition with Salitos, and this was part of the goodies that was in there. I love them so much. They hide my teary eyes sometimes, so it really helps. Shout out to you guys, right? So let's go straight to this video. Grief. I'm going to talk about the 5 stages of grief, even though it differs from person to person. These stages were according to Kubler-Ross, how a person deals with grief. So I'll stick to Kubler-Ross's interpretation of it, because there's many variants out there, and his is the most basic. So I thought we should just stick to that, because I don't really want to give a guide on how to grieve, right? But I want to just give the different symptoms and stages that you might go through before you feel like you're okay. Yeah, it takes time. First of all, let me start with the angel number. I have an angel number. This is a number that carries a message for the collective. So this is a number that you have been noticing everywhere, for the past week or for the past month. If this is you, then the message is for you. The number is 333, and the message is you should trust in your own abilities and those of your guides. So have more faith, in your talents, in your knowledge, in your smarts, in your ability to deliver, and also have more faith in your guides that they've got your back and they're with you, on every step of the way. Even though sometimes it might not seem like it, they're always there, right? I don't want to get deep into the angel number, because I was already deep in grief. So let's go back to grief, right? I was saying this is not a guide on how to grieve, but it is what most people experience, and it might be something that you will experience as well. And I just want to let you know that it's not something that's gonna happen overnight. The only time I saw someone go through grief in a day was in a cartoon, and that was probably because Teen Titans, I think. That's probably because they were trying to give us the lesson, like, as quickly as possible. So Robin, I think, was miserable, grieving actually, and because misery doesn't always equate grieving, right? But this time he was miserable because of the grief that he had experienced. So he went through, all 5 stages in one day. But in reality, because we're not living in the cartoons, we're living in real life. In reality, um, it can take up to 2 years for you to finally get over that grief. Grief is a process that one goes through after experiencing a loss, right? So it could be the loss of a loved one, it could be the loss of a job, it could be the death of a loved one, loss meaning breakups as well. So it's a situation where you lost something, and it's not easy for you to just snap out of it and adjust that much, because that something was something that meant something to you. It was something that, for some, if it's job related, it was something that paid the bills, it was something that kept you going. For losing a loved one, you're never going to see this person again, and it's someone that you really really loved. And how do I deal with it? How do I cope? How do I adjust? That's grief. So the 5 stages, like I said, according to Kubler-Ross, I'm gonna try from the tip of my head. I'm not so sure if I'm gonna remember, but I'm gonna give it my best. If I don't, I always have my screen here, which I'll constantly look at when I struggle to connect with my brain quickly, right? So 5 stages of grief. I'm not gonna say them in any particular order, but I'm gonna try to remember the order that Kubler-Ross put them in. The first one was, whew, see, my mouth is not catching up to my brain. My brain is processing so slow now, and I'm already here at first. The first one is denial, and then we have um, anger, and then we have um, depression, and then we have bargaining, and then we have acceptance. I did say no particular order, but yeah, I did get Kubler-Ross's order. So my, I think it was third year psychology or second year is paying off here. Um, right. So we're gonna start with denial, but before I get into that, there's something I wrote quickly. I did touch on it a bit, but just to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Grief is caused by any loss that one experiences. I did say that, right? That causes a major change in that individual's life. It could be the loss of a job, the ending of a relationship, death of a loved one, etc. I said that as well. Grief is universal, and each and every one of us will experience it at least once in our lifetime. So this applies to everyone, whether you have experienced grief yet or not. This is for you because it's something you're gonna experience, or if you have experienced it but didn't know what was going on, this is the chance for you to make sense of what was happening to you, and it could help you prevent a loved one from doing the most, because grief can cause people to do the most. So once you can identify it, you can coach a loved one through the stages as well. Knowledge is power, so right. um Not everyone will experience all five, right? And they will not necessarily all follow a particular order. Like I said, everyone experiences with grief is a different and unique as they are, so we're not all going to grieve the same. For some it's, whew, just withdrawing from the whole world, you know for some it's sleeping all day, for some it's crying all day, for some it's even maniac episodes that can get triggered by that. It's just a whole lot that can happen, and we all grieve differently. So do not expect, okay, this is what gonna it's gonna happen like this is gonna happen like this. But let's get started with denial. Denial is when one person pretends that everything is okay. So even though this death or this loss of a job or this divorce has you feeling like you don't understand, you just pretend like, nah, it's not happening. So it's like, if for example it's the loss of a job, you'll just be like, ah, it was just a misunderstanding, they're gonna call me back tomorrow. Or if it's a breakup, a divorce, same thing. You're like, ah, nah, they're just angry, they'll call, it'll be okay. If it's death of a loved one, you could go as far as saying, no, this is not happening, just not accepting the situation, basically. Yeah. um I'm sorry, they either pretend that the loss didn't happen, or that it didn't affect them at all, right? This is a coping mechanism that helps one to come to terms with the situation that they are currently faced with gradually. So the reason why this happens is so a person can process, because just letting it get to them all at once would cause major havoc, you know, for the person. So this is a coping in order for them to be able to cope, in order for them to be able to live life as normally as it used to be, right? They put themselves in a situation where they're like, ah, it's not happening. Yeah. It could go on, bruh. It could go on. It really could go on. I mean, in terms of longevity, is it in terms of time frame? Like, it could go on a week, a month, months. They're just in denial. Don't want to, it could go on. So that's denial. Then we have anger, Anger, we all know what anger means, to be angry, right? That anger may be directed at those around you. So you are angry at those around you. Um, or it could be directed at the person who committed the loss, or the person you lost, rather, right? Or thing you lost, if it's a job, right? Um, for example. And even to inanimate objects. So, like, anger comes in many ways. You could start go around kicking things, you could go around breaking things. Vandalism is, sometimes one of those situations where a person is angry. So it could manifest in many different ways. It's a whole world of anger. There's also many different types of anger, but I don't want to go into that because that's not what today is for. But maybe one day we'll get called to talk about anger and how it manifests and how it shows up. Yeah. And then the third stage is bargaining. This is the stage of what if, you know, like, oh, well, what if I'd gone to work earlier? This wouldn't have happened. Or what if I'd spent more time with them? Maybe they wouldn't have broken up with me. Or what if, the deceased loved one, if I had done this and that, they'd still be with me today. So this is a stage where you're just trying to create a different scenario where things are better, and you are hoping, wishing that that's the reality, you know. Um, then depression. It's crazy that I haven't already made a video about depression on its own, because I do talk about depression in one of my videos. Bipolar 2 disorder, I do touch on depression there a little bit. Also in post-traumatic stress disorder, I also touch on depression a little bit. But I'm saying it's wild that I haven't made a video entirely dedicated to depression, because that's something that really is out there. It's real, like, yay. Right? But anyway, it can manifest as someone isolating themselves from others to try and deal with the issue, or someone crying or feeling hopeless and like there's no reason to go on at all. Sometimes it can even lead to suicidal ideation. So this person is fixated with the idea of death. They want to die type vibes. Yeah, it's not attention seeking. It's real. It's real. Trust me, when a loved one starts talking about death, they're not seeking for attention. It's real. They need understanding, they need patience, they need help, they need support. Don't be thinking what you guys think, right? um so yeah, once suicidal ideation pops up, it would be a good time to let the person speak to a healthcare professional. So it could be, if you can't afford, because counseling services can be a little expensive. So if you can't afford going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, um, even your local social worker, they have those lay social workers, in the clinics. Just get them help. Take them to the clinic, take them to the hospital, take them where you can with what you have, right? So they can find someone who will help them to deal with that, symptom of depression, and overall to come into acceptance with what happened, and to combat that grief, right? Right now, here at the stage of depression, we could be anywhere between 3 to 6 months to a year to a year and a half within the state of depression, including the first four, is it, stages. Yeah. um and the last one is acceptance, right? This is the part where you still feel unhappy, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you are now back to being happy, you know, but it does mean that you got over the grief. Like, you've accepted it, this happened, it happened. Life must move on. Life does move on, right? Um, so coming to terms with what happened, and you found healthier ways to deal with it. So instead of the destructive ways that maybe you might have adopted to try and deal with the situation, you found better alternatives for it. This is where now you are hopeful again, and you're starting to look forward to life again, and you're making plans for the future again, because obviously you'd stopped, like you were not making any plans, you were not trying to be part of any future. So now you are getting maybe excited about a project again, and you've taken up a new skill, a new hobby, and it's just looking like there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm sorry, there's a plane passing by. A plane? I don't know if it's a plane or a train, because we have a train station here as well. But either way, sorry about the sound, right? But I have come to the end of my video. And in conclusion, I wrote, it can take up to 2 years before you go through the stages of grief, or even longer to some. Be patient with yourself and allow yourself to feel everything that arises. If it does go past the 2 year period, it's usually then labeled as complex grief. Maybe I'll do a follow-up of that. If you guys would like to learn more about complex grief, I hope I'm saying the right thing. I'll add into the description box, if it's the correct thing, because now I'm starting to doubt if that's what they call it. But if you guys do want me to talk about complex grief, this is when the grief has prolonged to such an extent that it's been 2 years and you're still stuck in that situation. It's a new type of grief altogether. If you guys want me to go into that, let me know. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. I hope to see you soon.